All right, here we go. As this commercial begins, it is fairly nondescript. Actually, it's very nondescript. There is no branding anywhere. There are no Coke bottles, there are no Budweisers or horses, nothing that gives this company or brand away. We're not really sure who is sending us this message. And this is important because rhetorically, it's akin to being in a dark room and hearing an unknown voice telling you what to do, right? Who on earth is the speaker here? We don't know yet. It's not a popular device as far as Super Bowl ads go, but it can be a potentially powerful one, especially for trailers when you're trying to build suspense or mystery or, in some ways, ethos and power. Okay, so let's see how this one goes.
Hold your breath. Hold it. Hold it.
Immediately, the audience is told to hold their breath. Okay, we are told to hold our breath. And apparently the speaker, a deep voice, one we often associate with all-knowingness, hence the popularity of it in trailers, which is important because this would be way different if it were, let's say, a small child who is using that voice. So it's a deep voice, and it is telling us repeatedly, hold your breath. Hold it. Hold it. Keep holding. Okay, so why is this awesome? Because most people who watch this commercial actually start holding their breath. They do. Maybe not the first time, but after it's reinforced so many times by this voice, you think to yourself, maybe I should. Let's see what this is about. Can I hold my breath the whole time? And so most people actually do. They don't necessarily stick to it all the way through, which is about a minute or under a minute, should you feel compelled to try when you actually watch the commercial itself, or if you did try. But they listen to the imperative that was given to them by this unknown voice. So, this is very important for many reasons. First of all, it establishes the speaker, that voice, although unknown, as in a position of great power. A speaker that the audience is immediately in the habit of obeying, right? Obeying. That's crazy. So if you held your breath, what you more or less did there was surrendered your will, even if for a moment, to the speaker. It's a brilliant little call to action that instantly generates a relationship, right? It generates a power dynamic between the audience, between you, the listener or viewer, and that voice. As this is happening, we hear a ticking clock, and with every tick, every second that passes, we see a different person in a different scenario taking a breath. Sometimes it's a man, sometimes it's a woman, sometimes it's someone white, sometimes it's someone black, sometimes it's someone swimming, sometimes it's someone who's getting married. But in the first 10 seconds, those first 10 ticks, we are exposed to a wide array of diversity and of life events. And the purpose, as far as the audience is concerned here, is to widen the parameters. The speaker is speaking to hundreds of millions of humans who are watching the Super Bowl. He instantly sought to snatch them up with a command, the hold your breath. And as a result, folks give consent. They're shown a variety of clips that will hopefully draw them in, and if not, then they're probably not in the target audience. If you don't react to any of those clips, then you're probably on the outside. But either way, it will hopefully reinforce the notion that they should be listening, should be holding their breath, and should continue watching.
Keep holding. At first, you feel fine.
The speaker tells the audience that at first you feel fine, from seconds 10 to 13 of the commercial, and the ticking persists. And as he says this, individuals looking safe, neutral, or content, but alone, are shown on the screen. And if you're holding your breath while you're watching this, you can't help but be focused on it, right? You give it your undivided attention because you're holding your breath. You're not going to be distracted by a nacho. You're locked on.
Then panic sets in. What you're feeling now?
Seconds 14 through 17, the speaker tells us, then the panic sets in. And whether or not this has happened for you yet, or for the audience yet, if anyone is holding their breath or still holding their breath, things are likely becoming a little uncomfortable. The screen flashes more challenging images, restless legs on a bed, a person alone on a long snowy road, and what follows will be a parallel drawn between the feelings that the audience is feeling, the physical sensation of holding one's breath, and the feeling of being burdened by, we're about to learn, financial debt. Listen for it. And watch the images that become heavier as opposed to the lighter ones we saw earlier, the swimming and the bride.
It's just like the financial stress that millions of us feel. It's like you're drowning.
Note that the speaker says, this feeling, the suffocation, is like the financial stress that millions of us feel. Millions of us, of course, is much more effective than a scenario in which millions of you is presented. Why? Because as it turns out, the speaker is suggesting that he is one of us. He is a peer in this financial hardship that he is talking about. And this has a few sudden effects. One, it clarifies the audience. If you aren't suffering financial hardships or you don't care about that, then you probably stop holding your breath and turn for the nachos. If you are holding your breath, you watch more intently. If you are holding your breath and you care about financial hardships, maybe you're suffering from it, you keep watching, you care more. Number two, it also allows the speaker to give up a little bit of his power, right? The omnipotence that comes with being a pictureless, unknown, deep-voiced narrator who is telling us what to do by showing us some of his weakness, that he feels financial hardship too, that he's with us in that struggle. But he is trading just a little bit of that power for a great deal of credibility, for ethos too. It's a different kind of power, right? The suggestion that he should be listened to because he understands, at least as well as we do, that what it's like to be a victim of this kind of a struggle.
Meanwhile, big things, little things, the moments that matter, slip away.
So each tick continues to provide us with a new image, a new snapshot of life, a new memory. The narrator reminds us that meanwhile, big things, little things, the moments that matter slip away. As he says this, we are shown birthdays, time spent with grandparents, images of young children, in childhood and prom. There's a surge of pathos because who doesn't yearn for those things? If you went to prom, you'll likely think back to it fondly. If you didn't go to prom because you're 16 years old or 15 or 14 or 13 or whatever, or because you didn't feel like going, this commercial may not be targeting you as directly. It's probably targeting your parents, right? Interesting. And yet there is still a number of universal images tucked in here, right? Like the flashes that we associate with childhood, a swimming pool, a white picket fence.
SunTrust is about to help America catch its breath.
The speaker now tells us, as the images become less nostalgic, a little brighter, a little cheerier, SunTrust is about to help America catch its breath. The images that parallel this claim are a winning punch at a carnival, friends dancing, and a child playing with her father. And while millions of people watch this, it's very likely that they're taking a deep breath for the first time and literally starting to catch their own breath if they have been holding their breath the whole time. Evidence that all of these moments, right, these big moments and small moments, they have not yet necessarily slipped away, right? You can still play with your kid. You can still hang out and dance with your friends. You can still go to the carnival. Nostalgia doesn't need to be a thing of the past. But what's the solution? How can you catch your breath and capture more of these moments? Well, apparently, SunTrust will help Americans with that, right? That seems to be the message here. That seems to be part of that argument. Now, one more note on breath holding. It's likely that at this point, viewers have stopped holding their breath, not because they were told to, but because it's easy to get sick of, which is fine. The device, the imperative to hold your breath, served to set up the speaker's position in the argument and to capture the audience's attention. At this point, a combination of pathos through the speaker's claims and through the paralleled images were used to build nostalgia and longing into the audience, and simultaneously the layer about financial hardship refined the audience, narrowed it, so that folks who are interested were paying enough attention to know that this was for them, to learn that, while other folks who may have had their attention taken from them at the start can now disengage with the commercial, because if they're not part of that target audience, if they're wealthy, or if they just don't feel any financial distress or don't care, then it's not going to matter anyway. They're not going to be customers for this company. What's interesting about something like asking folks to hold their breath, it's a very, very interesting and powerful opening. It's difficult to do something like that. So even in writing, we talk about engaging hooks. But if every single commercial began with, hold your breath, hold it, and no one would do it, and it would be weird and annoying. And so that is one of the issues we struggle with as writers, or as folks who are trying to craft compelling advertisements or arguments in general. It's being creative enough to put some kind of compelling rhetorical device into action. Okay, so let's watch the pathos-driven imagery continue as the narrator gives us an additional layer of logos to soak in.
By lighting the way to financial confidence, to help you make smart choices to move forward, onward, and upward. So now, let go, and breathe.
Again, the images continue to change every second, focusing largely on children, families, and even a puppy. It is Pathos City. Meanwhile, the narrator tells us that relief is about to be had at the hands of SunTrust, and that it's the audience's job to take the first step, ending with a call to action.
Feel that relief? Take the first step. Join the movement at onup.com.
Take the first step, join the movement, onup.com. A compact and compelling little argument that creatively hooks a large audience and appropriately targets its own. Nice. If you'd like the corresponding lessons, lesson plans, and resources, check out teachargument.com/SunTrust, or you can subscribe to this channel, check out the additional rhetorical analyses that we've loaded here for you. Enjoy.